Hello and welcome to Connect, the weekly podcast of the California MBA, featuring one-on-one interviews with movers and shakers in the mortgage industry. I'm Susan Milazzo, CEO of the California MBA, and I'm very happy that you can join us today. Before I get to today's guest, I'd like to thank our 2023 President's Council sponsors. Now, these are a handful of companies that provide an incredible amount of financial support for the organization to help us ensure that we remain very strong advocates for the real estate finance industry in California, and of course, supporting our advocacy efforts here. So I'd like to thank our President's Council's companies this year, which include AmeriHome, ArchMI, Consolidated Analytics, Funding Shield, Guild Mortgage, Accelerate, Rocket Mortgage, and Western Alliance Bank. Thank you all for your support in 2023. And that brings us to today's guest, Chuck Iverson, president of Mason-McDuffie. Chuck, welcome.
Thank you so much, Susan, for having me.
And I know you've been very generous with your time. You've been a guest on Connect before, so thank you. I wanted to kind of jump right into it. You know, we're in the as we're recording this, ending the first quarter of 2023. It's proven to be a harder year in the mortgage industry than we've seen in some time, but gosh, Mason-McDuffie's growing, which is incredible. So congratulations to that. But is growth difficult in a market like this?
Well, I guess you have to define what is growth. You know, there's growth in revenue, there's growth in production, or there's growth in your, I guess, the underlying structure of your business. And you know, what your strategy is really is a result of what the capital base you have to work with is. And so growing sales or revenue in this market is virtually impossible. But if you are in a position with the right capital and the right model, you can go out and attract and grow your sales force for sure, which is what we're doing. And therefore, you know, as the market recovers, be a stronger company, you know, because those salespeople will produce revenue for you, whether that's in TPO or in the retail sector. But for us, it's been beneficial. There's been a flight to quality and strength, and been disruption in many other retail companies, large retail companies. And so from that, we've been nimble and able to adapt to those folks' needs, and you know, really kind of reinventing our company and taking it. I look at it as a platform for originators. Platform as a service is what we call it. And so we're just growing that model, and very blessed to have the opportunity to do so.
Well, it's incredible, and congratulations to you leading that effort. You know, being a leader in hot markets, of course, is much different than the challenging market we see ourselves in today. What are some of the leadership values that companies, you know, should embrace in a year like this?
Humility is kind of top of the list, I think. And with my old boss and Sierra Pacific, Jim Cafrani, we used to laugh. You know, when interest rates were low, we'd go, "Well, we're really smart this year." You know,
that's right.
That just it's kind of how it is. So you have to have humility, but it takes, you know, grit and resolve, being forthright, you know, open with people, telling it like it is, with, you know, within the parameters of professionalism, right? Because, you know, people want to know where they stand and what's happening with your organization, and, you know, of course, their livelihoods, you know. So that's really important. I think, you know, I talked a little bit about strategy, and, you know, strategy is dependent on what your resources are. So your capital base, I mean, you may only have the option of hunkering down, or maybe you hunker down and you grow. You know, whatever resources you have, you can't not take that into account. So it takes a certain level of being strategic. And, you know, many companies are looking for the silver lining in the market, and I think that's always, you know, always important. I'm a big fan of a book called The Obstacle is the Way, and so, you know, in that, you're always seeing what's the silver lining. For us, it's growth of sales force. For other people, it's technology adoption and efficiency, so that when the market recovers, they can scale. So there's always something that you can do out there, and always you have to have a great management and leadership team to execute.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I was, had a conversation the other day with a lender, has been doing this for a long time, and boy, these people that have only been in the market, been in the business for like 10 years, they don't know what's happening. They think, the world's coming to an end. Like, well, this does happen. I mean, you probably haven't experienced it, but it's a challenging time. And like you say, you need to, pick your strategy and stick to that.
Yeah, well, it's no matter whether you've been through it multiple times or it's your first time, it's still it's like jumping in the ocean when it's 50 degrees. You can mentally understand that it's going to be super cold, but there's nothing like when that wave washes over you. And when you're in the capital markets business, extreme volatility is part of it, black swan events. And most leaders in the industry try to really be good stewards and take care of their people and practice good management practices. But unfortunately, when your revenue drops by 80% or you have a black swan event or whatever you want to call some of these extreme markets, a lot of that goes out the window because it's complete survival mode. So you just do your best. You try to be retain your resources, be open with your folks, treat everyone with compassion and professionalism, but also be resolved to do what's necessary to keep the organization going.
I love the message behind you. Work hard and be nice to people. Everybody should do that. We'd all be better off.
I think most people do, and most people want to be part of that culture.
Chuck, you've had a long career in financial services. What advice would you give somebody that's a newer entrant to the market?
Yeah, when you shared this question with me, I thought about it, and I think it starts with understanding yourself a little bit. Like what do you like? Some people are like, I wanted to get into management. I honestly don't know why, but it was the right move for me, right? And so I set those goals out for myself. Some people really don't want that. They just want to make a difference in different ways, project management or performing their roles that is more of an independent role, being part of a team, whether it's in operations or like my marketing team here. So I think you have to understand how you're wired and what you want to do. And once you do that, then I think you need to invest in yourself. And there's never been a time where information and the opportunity to improve yourself has been more readily available or more inexpensive. And so, you have to be committed to yourself and to invest in yourself. And the way I looked at it when I got into this business, because I was in what tech there was in the 80s, and then I had an opportunity to get into this, is I realized I viewed it like I was getting my graduate degree in mortgage banking, and I was getting a salary to do it. So I think it's whether you view it like I'm getting my degree in mortgage banking or I'm getting my grad or my PhD, whatever it is, in whatever discipline, I think you just have to continue to invest in your education, ask for feedback, look to make a difference, and work hard, of course, and be nice to people. That's very
Got to get that. Great advice for sure. Speaking of when, you started in the mortgage industry, when you started, there was, very little technology in the mortgage space. And of course, now we're in an era where technology is key to, to the mortgage industry. What areas will be the highest priority for technology adoption for your company this year?
That is another good question for us, and we're evaluating, a few different paths to go down on that. There's been an explosion of lender partners, technology partners, vendors around, document imaging, OCR, grabbing source data, and then taking that data and kind of teeing it up, either populating your LOS or creating, like underwriter toolkits, so it's easier to validate those findings and get the data into the right place. So there's a lot of promise there. And I look at that all the way from file intake through, post-closing. So it's an area of high interest, but I've also, it's an area that there's been a lot of failed implementations or less than stellar results on it right now. So, but it's going to happen. It's just a matter of who's going to do it. And there's, I think there's, I don't know, maybe 20 technology providers doing that, from big companies to startups. So that's an area of focus. We're looking at some front-end technology to make our salespeople's lives more efficient and better. Those are probably the two biggest things for us. I think a lot of other lenders, again, back to what I was talking about, where it's like an efficiency optimization play, so that when the business does return, they can scale up in a more efficient manner. So, those are probably the hot buttons for the industry.
Yeah, good observations. Speaking of technology, you of course served as our inaugural chair for our big Mortgage Innovators Conference in 2019. Of course, that's coming up this year, June 14th and 15th in Anaheim. What can you share with listeners about the value of that event and what we're trying to put out there for the industry?
Yeah, when we first had the opportunity to create the event, I think one of the keys was we took a broader viewpoint than just a technology conference. The word innovation was put in there, and innovation is ideas. Of course, technology is one of the underlying implementation, or one of the underlying important tenets of it. But there's process, and there's all kinds of things that go into innovation. The other thing that I think we took a broader viewpoint on than maybe other technology conferences was we really looked at the front end as well too, the engagement with consumers and marketing technology and, different ways of getting folks, to your door, as well as the back end of it. So we've taken a much broader viewpoint, I think, than other technology conferences. So that's a key differentiator. So you can really, look and find different tracks and different areas to focus on for your business from start to finish. And then the other piece that is really the key differentiator is we have focused, then and now, and maybe you can talk about what we're doing this year a little bit, on lender affordability. It's a conference for lenders, but the value to our sponsors and to the technology partners that come there is the fact that we do have a lot of lenders, and that's why they're at these conferences. So we are committed to driving, a large audience at these conferences, making it very affordable for them to come, and that way, our vendors and our sponsors get a lot more value. I think we've always wanted to curate the content really well, as well as the sponsors, to make sure that we believe in the folks that we're partnering with at that conference. And out of all that, it's just a true quality event.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for your leadership in getting that started. We are, you make a good point. We have, because we're a nonprofit that benefits and serves the mortgage banking industry in California. From the beginning, when you and I first started talking about this, we wanted to make it very affordable for lenders to come. Given the market in 2023, we're actually making it free for our members to come. So our lender members are getting free passes, multiple free passes to come, and we'll be doing some great promotions for other lenders across the country to really come out and join us. So June 14th and 15th in Anaheim, look forward to having everybody join us there. And of course, for kind of the life cycle of the loan technology that you were referring to, Chuck, that we do focus on at the conference, lenders can also visit mortgageinnovators.com throughout the year, and that is our project that we started in 2020 to provide a technology resource for lenders throughout the year. So mortgageinnovators.com is another great resource that we've got going. So we're proud of our Mortgage Innovators brand for sure.
Yeah, it's been great.
And Chuck, you are, of course, a member of my board of directors, have been a leader with the California MBA for some time, encouraged a lot of companies to support what it is that we do. Can you share with our listeners why it's important to support the California MBA?
Well, there's a lot of ideas that are floated about regulation and how things should be controlled. And, you know, this current banking environment is a good example of that. And, you know, while I believe it's always well-intended regulation, I sometimes don't think that everyone understands the impact and how it can actually reduce access to lending. And so we have to be engaged, especially in this state, with our regulators and with our legislators to make and craft intelligent regulation. So I don't think I would ever argue that we don't need regulation, because it's back to the wild days of, you know, the beginning of the 1900s, you know, where there's a lot of problems. So, but you can go too far with this, and then you can have well-meaning legislation that just, you know, drives companies away from lending in California. And, you know, since we control about 25% of the mortgage market, you know, this is a very influential state in national policy and other state legislative policies. So it's really crucial for me to be part of that. And I've seen, you know, how, you know, we've got excellent lobbyists, and we'll dive in with regulators to educate them, and it'll modify legislation so it's much more on target for the intended effects.
Great, thank you. Yeah, advocacy is cornerstone of what we do at the California MBA. So thanks for your support over the years, Chuck, and thanks for being on Connect again. I really appreciate it.
Anytime. Look forward to it.
And thanks to all of you for joining us on today's Connect. To access any of our past episodes, you can follow us on our YouTube channel. We're also available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. That's it for this week, and we'll see you next time on Connect.